Sergio Ramos is on his way back to Europe, and Milan might be the ones bringing the legend home. Arsenal's golden boy Declan Rice? Yeah, Real Madrid are watching him closely now. They're not just curious, he's really on their radar. Barcelona are cooking something big this summer. Laporta's clearly not done yet. What's he planning to do to win the fans back this time? And over in England, Liverpool might be heading for a serious shakeup. Reports say Arne Slot could only stay until the end of the season, and after that, the Reds might be handed over to the one and only Luis Enrique. We're gonna break all of that down today. This is your daily dose of football, 10 of the hottest stories lined up and ready to go. Before we jump in, if you want this format to keep rolling, just drop a like. You like it, you back it. Simple as that. And if you're eating right now, enjoy your food and enjoy the watch. Sergio Ramos ended his European career more than a year ago, when his deal with Sevilla ran out. After that, he packed his bags and went off to Monterrey in Mexico. Since then, he's become a regular starter there and even scored 7 goals. For a center-back, that's a pretty crazy number. But Ramos doesn't really see his future in Mexico anymore. His family feel way more comfortable in Europe, ideally back in Spain, where they're from. So he's not going to extend his contract with Monterrey, which expires at the end of the year. Spanish outlets like AS and El Chiringuito say he wants to come back to European football and try to convince Luis de la Fuente to call him up for the World Cup. Remember, after leaving Sevilla, he spent 6 months as a free agent, just sitting there without a club. Back then, the media were throwing around all kinds of options. I honestly thought he'd end up at that newly created San Jose team in the American League. There were even rumors about him returning to Real Madrid, but Florentino Perez personally shut that down. In the end, it took half a year to find a new team. And let's be real, since then, Ramos hasn't exactly got any younger. His level didn't suddenly jump either. I only saw Monterrey at the Club World Cup and nothing about him screamed top European level anymore. So there's a real chance that no European side, especially not a top club, will want a 39-year-old center back. But there's one theory that just won't die. One big club might still take a gamble. A club that already brought a player back from North America and already signed an aging legend. Yeah, it's Milan under Massimiliano Allegri, fighting for the Serie A title. If you've watched the Rossoneri or know Allegri's ideas, you know they play with 3 center backs. Right now, he's got 5 players for those positions. With a tight schedule, even without European Cups, that's the absolute minimum. Ideally, you want more bodies back there. Ramos could come in as short-term depth for 6 months, but everything depends on what he asks for. Milan are not some oil club with infinite money, and Ramos is used to being paid like a superstar. Even at Monterrey, he's making around 4 million euros after tax. That's about what Rafael Leao, Milan's longtime leader, gets. So if Ramos keeps the same salary expectations, it's hard to see any European club lining up to sign him. Personally, I'd love to see him at Barcelona. They really miss an experienced center-back after Íñigo Martínez left. But let's be honest, that transfer is so unrealistic, it doesn't happen even in a 40-degree fever dream. Arsenal fought for Declan Rice for ages. They chased him for years before finally convincing West Ham to let him go. They dropped almost 120 million euros on him, a record fee. But even that crazy price already looks worth it. Rice fit into Mikel Arteta's system instantly. Right now, he's probably the most important player in this whole Arsenal machine. Arteta even talks about him like a future Ballon d'Or winner. He basically said, if Rice wins the Ballon d'Or, it means we've won a lot. He's been brilliant from the very start. He's incredible and very important for us. Looking at how Arsenal play and how they barely have weak spots, it's not that wild to imagine Rice one day holding that Ballon d'Or. But the twist is, he might be lifting it wearing a different shirt, because Real Madrid are now eyeing him up. That's what the English media are reporting. Their main scout, Juni Calafat, personally went to the Arsenal-Bayern game just to watch Rice live. His report for the Real board was full of praise for Rice's tactical IQ and maturity. But Arsenal are not planning to sell. Not next summer, not the one after that. They actually want to give him a new, long-term deal and see him as their future captain. If this was any club other than Real Madrid, we could just end the story here. But Real always find a way. They never rush. They work long-term, patiently, and usually get who they want. Just remember how many years they chased Kylian Mbappe, or how they eventually pulled Trent Alexander-Arnold out of Liverpool in this universe's storyline. And this isn't just some random wish from Madrid. They really need Rice, or a player with a very similar profile, and they're focused on the English market. So yeah, Arsenal fans have a reason to be nervous. They could lose their key midfielder in a couple of years, or even as soon as next summer. Barcelona have big plans for the next transfer window. They want to strengthen several key positions, and the main target is a new striker. The logic is simple. Robert Lewandowski's contract is running out. They need someone who can lead the line after him. Joan Laporta's dream signing is Julian Alvarez, but that move is almost impossible because of the fee. Barca aren't the Barca of 10 years ago. They can't just drop over 100 million on one player anymore. A more realistic name is Harry Kane. Next summer, his buyout clause should be around 65 million euros. That's at least doable. Hansi Flick, though, is also looking at big, powerful forwards. He really likes Serhou Guirassy from Borussia Dortmund. According to Florian Plettenberg, Guirassy's release clause drops to around 50 million at the end of the season. Considering his age, form, and price, Guirassy looks like the most logical move. Barca also desperately need a center-back. We all see how shaky their defense is. Ronald Araujo doesn't fully get what Flick wants from him. On top of that, he's clearly struggling mentally, and that keeps turning into red cards and stupid mistakes. Surprisingly, Barcelona have joined the race for Marc Guehi. His contract ends next summer, so the financial side looks good for Barca, but the competition is brutal. Liverpool have been watching him for months. With their recent results, their interest has only gone up. Bayern are in the mix too. Dayot Upamecano might leave, and they need someone serious to lead their back line. Right now, Liverpool and Bayern are considered the favorites for Guehi. Behind them, there's at least 10 more clubs waiting in line. Barca definitely aren't in the strongest position in that race, but there is a defender where they do have better chances. That's Nico Schlotterbeck. Barcelona would have to pay a fee, but it wouldn't be insane money. The length of his contract doesn't give Dortmund the upper hand in negotiations, so there is room for a decent deal. There are even rumors that Barca could add a defender already this winter. Two familiar names are back on the table. They're looking at bringing João Cancelo back on loan. Jules Koundé is in awful form right now, just a pale shadow of last season. So Flick could really use another option on the right. They're not ignoring the left flank either. Barca want to bring back their academy product Alex Grimaldo, whose contract is also running out. It's still unclear whether he arrives in winter for a small fee or in summer as a free agent. But either way, both Cancelo and Grimaldo would help massively, especially with how thin this Barcelona squad is right now. Neymar's Santos are fighting for their lives in the Brazilian Serie A. They're stuck near the bottom of the table and trying not to get relegated. At the same time, Neymar is getting hammered with the usual criticism. People say he's just burning through a huge budget and barely helping on the pitch. He earns around 20 million euros per season. For Brazil, that's basically the budget of an entire club. With numbers like that, fans expect constant impact. Instead, they mostly see nothing. Then it got even worse. Neymar picked up a new injury, a meniscus problem. Doctors told him to sit out the rest of the season and only come back next year. For a player, that's serious. You can't perform at the required level with a damaged meniscus without risking making it worse. After that news, the pressure around him exploded even more. It looked like he'd once again disappear when Santos needed him most. But then, the story flipped completely. Santos had a game against Sport, one of the league's outsiders with nothing to play for. These are exactly the games you have to win if you want to stay up. Neymar wasn't supposed to be involved, but he ignored the doctors and started the match. And instead of giving people another reason to trash him, he became the hero. He scored a huge goal and assisted the team's third. Santos grabbed all 3 points and climbed out of the relegation zone. Now they're just above the danger line, and even other results from this round can't drag them back in. For the team, that's a massive mental break. They finally feel like survival is possible. Of course, it's way too early to chill. Next up is Juventude, who are also unstable. And then Cruzeiro, one of the title contenders. The schedule is tough, but not hopeless. The situation is still far from perfect, but Santos finally have a real shot at escaping the crisis. And the funniest part? The first step was made by Neymar, a guy many people had already written off. Barcelona just had a birthday. It's been 126 years since the club was born, since Joan Gamper put a tiny ad in the paper, looking for people to play football. From that moment, a whole era started. And on this symbolic day, Barca had a home game against Alaves, a team from the lower half of the table. On paper, a perfect chance to give the club and the fans a nice birthday present. But the party kicked off in a weird way. The ref blew the whistle, Barca charged forward, and 43 seconds later, they were already losing. Pablo Ibanez tapped the ball in from a couple of meters out after a total meltdown from the Barca defense. John Garcia had no chance at all. Once again, Barcelona found a way to start a match in a way that makes every fan's heart drop. But they didn't stay behind for long. After just a few minutes, Rafinha and Yamal pulled off a classic combo. Rafinha burned down the flank and fired a low cross, and Yamal finished it from close range. For Rafinha, it was his first start in 2 months, and it took him only a couple of minutes to remind everyone why they'd missed him. It's not just about goals. His work off the ball gives Barca something Rashford never really gave them: constant pressing, tracking back, and winning the ball. With him on the pitch, the whole team plays more aggressively. In the middle of the half, he created another big chance with almost the same move. This time, the final touch came from Dani Olmo. Barcelona went ahead and never gave the lead back. The defense still had their shaky moments and gifted Alaves a few chances. But John Garcia kept Barca safe and didn't let those mistakes turn into goals. Lamine Yamal also deserves his own shout. It really feels like, after the Chelsea match, Hansi Flick had a proper Gennaro Gattuso-style talk with him. Yamal played one of his best games in weeks. 9 successful dribbles, 8 ball recoveries, and a huge shift in the press. He was sharp and active again, instead of just standing on the wing, waiting for the ball. Near the end, he bagged another assist for Olmo, and Barca closed it out 3-1. The win wasn't some crazy show, but it was very important. On the club's birthday, Barcelona went top of the table, and that kind of symbolism gives the whole team an extra boost. Paris Saint-Germain slipped up again in Ligue 1. This time they lost away to Monaco and once more looked very unimpressive on the road. Whenever Luis Enrique's side meets a half-decent opponent in the league, they suddenly stop looking like a true giant. The game gets sticky in midfield. They take shots just to fill the stats, and the defense makes regular mistakes. It was like that against Marseille. Pretty much the same story against Lille. And this familiar script repeated itself against Monaco. The funny thing is, Monaco themselves were in awful form. 3 straight league defeats with a combined score of 9-2. Even with that background, you never felt like PSG would just steamroll them. It looked more like a 1-1 kind of game. But Paris couldn't come up with a proper response. They never answered Monaco's only goal, even though the hosts played the last 15 minutes with 10 men. The lone goal came from Takumi Minamino after an assist from Alexander Golovin. The worst part was how PSG's defense reacted. The holding zone completely collapsed. 2 Monaco players were totally free to score, and Lucas Chevalier, standing in for Donnarumma, didn't even really jump. He took a tiny step in the wrong direction and had 0 chance to reach the ball. That one goal after a rare Monaco attack triggered another wave of criticism towards the French keeper, and more people started demanding Matvei Safonov be brought back as the starter. One tweet nailed the mood perfectly: Safonov should be number 1. Even if he's completely drunk, he's still better than Chevalier. Judging by what we see, the guy has a point. It really doesn't seem like it could get any worse. Chevalier arrived at PSG as a big-time shot stopper from Lille, a goalkeeper who reacts well to clear chances, but instead of a shot stopper, they ended up with someone who just occupies space between the posts. If the ball flies straight at him, he saves it. If not, good luck. We don't really know what shape Safonov is in after 6 months without playing, but at the very least he can handle the role of backpack in goal, and he might actually save the team when it matters. In short, it's hard to imagine him being worse than Chevalier. A new serious conflict is brewing between Barcelona and Real Madrid. It all started with a statement from Florentino Perez. He spoke very sharply and basically hinted that Barca won their trophies thanks to friendly referees. That was a direct hit at Barcelona, so Joan Laporta didn't stay quiet. He fired back with something like, just in the last round, Real scored 2 goals that shouldn't have counted. In one episode, Bellingham clearly handled the ball, and in the other, Vinicius literally punched Peña. If those 2 goals had been disallowed, Barca would be top of La Liga right now. Obviously, things didn't stop there. Other people jumped in too. A former Real president suddenly defended Barcelona, which shocked a lot of fans. One of the candidates for the Barca presidency also decided to add fuel. Elections are coming, and every hot quote means extra votes. But those comments are more like background noise. People outside the current system don't really control anything. Much more important was Xabi Alonso's reaction. The Real Madrid coach answered Laporta directly, without any nice packaging. He called Laporta's words pure populism, and said everyone should focus on football instead of this verbal war. There's a funny detail here. Alonso was happy to criticize Laporta, but didn't say a word about Perez's comments. Logically, if you call something populism, then your own president's speech fits that label at least as much. He's the one who lit this fire in the first place. But it's obvious why Alonso won't go against Perez publicly. He's already working under massive pressure. Results aren't stable, and there's plenty of noise around the team. It's easier for him to stick to the club's line and not make his life even harder. And honestly, that makes sense. Meanwhile, the conflict between Barcelona and Real Madrid is only going to grow. This isn't just about football rivalry anymore. It's becoming a full-on political battle. Each side is trying to drag public opinion onto their side, and this war is only just getting started. Not long ago, Milan signed Feyenoord striker Santiago Giménez for €30 million. At that moment, he was one of the best forwards in the Eredivisie. 23 goals in the 23-24 season, 7 more in the previous campaign, plus 5 in the Champions League. It looked like the Rossoneri had finally solved their striker problem after Olivier Giroud left. But Giménez's Italian adventure hasn't really taken off. Last season, he finished with okay numbers for someone adjusting to a new league. 5 goals in 14 Serie A games. This season, though, is a disaster. 0 goals, around 600 minutes played. That's it. Those 30 million now look like money flushed straight down the toilet. And for an Italian club, that's not small change. But suddenly, a lifeline might be coming from England. Sunderland want to boost their attack in January and have picked Giménez as a target. The Black Cats board have already contacted Milan. They even offered the same 30 million. It sounds insanely generous, but if you look at Sunderland's recent transfer windows, you'll see they really do have cash. Milan, of course, said yes. Now the last step is to convince Giménez himself to move to England. We still don't know what he thinks, but I'm pretty sure Milan's management will do everything they can to sell him on the idea of playing in the rainy north. Milan already know where they want to spend that money. Priority number 1 is replacing the injured Christian Pulisic. The American is a key player for them, but lately, he's barely been on the pitch, one injury after another. That drives Allegri crazy. Reports say Milan are interested in 18-year-old French forward Sidiki Sharif from Angers. He can play both on the wing and up front, and already has 3 goals this season, which is solid for his age. But that will probably be just one of several winter signings. Allegri wants to fight for the Serie A title, and for that, he needs every weapon he can get. Federico Valverde's future at Real Madrid suddenly isn't that clear. The midfielder is no longer ruling out leaving after a clash with head coach Xabi Alonso. That's according to the Mirror in England. They say Manchester United are watching the situation closely and preparing a possible offer. Valverde is under contract with Real until 2029, but he's unhappy with certain aspects of how Alonso works. And he's not the only dressing room veteran struggling with the new demands. If the relationship with the coach doesn't improve, Valverde might really start thinking about leaving. At Old Trafford, the board have liked him for a long time. They'd love to bring him in. The problem is the price. Real value him at £100 million, while United think he's closer to 70. You also can't ignore the history between these two clubs. it's not exactly friendly. People at United still remember the collapsed David De Gea deal back in 2015, and Cristiano Ronaldo's move to Madrid in 2009 also left a scar. All that doesn't make talks any easier. Then again, there have been deals that worked, especially for Real. The best example is Casemiro's transfer. 70 million euros for a midfielder already over 30. Madrid absolutely rinsed United there. Back to Valverde. He's not the first player to have issues with Alonso. Xabi already has plenty of tension in the dressing room. Just remember the disagreements with Vinicius during his contract talks. The coach says he expected these problems. But one thing is expecting them, another is handling them properly. Right now, he's not doing great with that, and it could cost him key players. The Valverde situation could become the first big test for this new Real Madrid project. If they lose a player like him, the consequences will be felt immediately. English media claim Arne Slot is close to getting sacked. For that to happen, Liverpool just need to keep their bad run going in the next few games. On paper, the opponents don't look terrifying. West Ham, fighting for survival, newly promoted Sunderland, and Leeds in the relegation zone. But let's be honest, right now there are no easy opponents for Liverpool. West Ham under Espirito Santo are not the same soft team from the start of the season. Sunderland recently scored more goals against the league's best defense than Manchester City or Bayern. So yeah, Slot's chances of losing his job are pretty high. Everyone in England is now asking one thing: what happens if he actually gets sacked? First, the club's bank account will take a hit of around 10 million because that's the compensation they owe him. Second, a new manager will have to come in right in the middle of the season. He'll need to fix everything on the fly. And the big question is, who would that be? In the last few days, a version has been pushed that I personally really like. The board reportedly want to bring back Jurgen Klopp until the end of the season. Besides his status, achievements, and the fans' love, he wouldn't need any time to adapt. He already knows most of the squad. And most importantly, they know exactly what he wants from them. His return to Anfield would be a huge emotional boost. In a psychological crisis like this, that alone could solve half the problem. But Klopp would only be a temporary fix. At the end of the season, he's expected to leave again, and in summer, Liverpool would once more be without a head coach. The long-term plan is to appoint a big-name manager with a strong European reputation. Reports say Liverpool want Luis Enrique. The only issue is his current contract. Last summer, he signed a new 2-year deal with PSG, and there's been no sign that either side is unhappy. So something major would have to happen to make Enrique think about leaving. Or Liverpool would have to convince him that taking over the Reds is the right move. And let's be real, even in crisis, Liverpool have insane potential. They can and should fight for all the big trophies, including the Champions League, where they're second all-time in titles. They just need a proper anti-crisis operation. It's a tough job, but definitely doable, especially for the guy who finally gave PSG their long-awaited European crown. A year ago, no one took that version of PSG seriously as Champions League contenders. Yet in May, Enrique's team destroyed Inter in the final and lifted a historic trophy. With Liverpool, something similar could happen, but only if he decides to take the job. That's all for today. Thanks for watching and for being part of the channel.